So Siddharth Mukherjee, who's a very well-known author, who's written Cancer of Maladies, Emperor of Maladies, a book about cancer, and now has written a book on the gene, says this in his opening chapter: 3 profoundly destabilizing scientific ideas ricochet through the 20th century, trisecting into 3 equal parts: the atom, the bit, and the gene. Each is foreshadowed by an earlier century, but dazzles into full prominence in the 20th. Each begins its life as a rather abstract scientific concept, but grows to invade multiple human discourses, thereby transforming culture, society, politics, and language. But the most crucial parallel between the 3 ideas by far is conceptual. Each represents the irreducible unit, the building block, the basic organizational unit of a larger whole, the atom of matter, the bit of digitized information, the gene of hereditary and biological information. How has the bit transformed our lives? Today we have with us 4 eminent panelists who will be discussing this issue in the next hour. I have the first panelist, Mr. Adnan Malik, who is a well-known actor, director. He doesn't want me to say model, but he does that as well.
He's model for me. It actually started there.
So that's the first panelist. The second panelist is Deepa Parvani, who's one of our foremost designers.
Thank you, guys.
Who's won several international and national awards and is generally a household name. He's an actor and involved in various charities and has recently been inducted as the chairperson of the Pakistan Fashion Council. Ms. Afia Salam, she was our first cricket journalist. She started journalism in 1979, is that right?
78, but first female cricket journalist.
First female journalist, there we go. Has been the creative head of 3 advertising agencies with an agenda of environment close to her heart. She has also worked with IUCN. And she's currently involved in advocacy of issues relating to media development and does freelance writing for, among others, Dawn, Express Tribune, and Newsline. Our last panelist is Fariha Aziz. Fariha is a Karachi-based APNS award-winning journalist. She is a co-founder and director at Bolo Bhi. For the last year and a half, she has been focused on the controversial cybercrime bill, which has been recently passed. So I'd like to begin this panel by asking you what you think of as privacy and how does it, if you are not able to maintain a kind of private life that you would want, being public figures, the 2 of you, or if you are in the media and working for the cybercrime bill, how does privacy, how important is it, and how do you view it? Is it something really important in our lives, something that we need to? Go ahead, anybody can start.
Okay, being the dinosaur, shall I start?
Yes. Please go ahead.
Okay, so I can actually make a comparison of what privacy was earlier and how the connotations have changed. So privacy, in my view, and I'll make it slightly anecdotal, is like the values you're brought up with. So you are not supposed to peek into other people's houses. You are not supposed to have these probing kind of conversations. And those are supposed to be good values. So you always had people who adhered to these values. And you could be in a public space with them for a very long time, and they will not really be intrusive. They'll be polite, but not intrusive. And then there were people who, if there was a car that stopped outside your gate, you will know that somebody's curtains would, part from amongst the neighbors who would want to know who's coming, who's going, especially if it were at the time that isn't considered cool to visit anybody. Or even if you're at a dentist waiting room, and there will be somebody chattering your head off, wanting to know what your great-grandfather did, whether they were married, whether they were, or not, or how many children, and why only so many children, and, why not more, etc., etc. So again, these are the values. So those kind of people were always considered rude.
Intrusive.
And, intrusive and rude. So when you bring that onto the online space, similarly it's, okay, you have a public profile, but that doesn't mean that gives anybody else the right to part the curtains and peek inside. And now this depends only on how much of yourself you want other people to see. That is why houses have walls, that is why they have windows, that is why they have curtains. And in a similar way, in the online space, however much you want to reveal about yourself, so there are people who will respect that, who will not break those boundaries, but there are people then who do transgress. So that I think is the issue over here. Why do people want to know?
Deepak, would you like to respond? Because Deepak is the one who really needs to say
भाई
something.
वो फुप्पी तो हर किसी के घर पे होती हैं जो क्या कहते हैं हर अफेयर्स में मेडल करती हैं या वो खाला अगर वो ना हुआ तो फिर ख़ानदान में गॉसिप कैसे होगी और मज़ा कैसे आएगा जिसको कह लें और मेरे ख्याल में कहना ये ज़रूरी है लेकिन ये भी हम सोचना चाहिए कि आई थिंक इट्स पार्ट ऑफ द ह्यूमन नेचर टू गॉसिप टू बी क्यूरियस टू आस्क क्वेश्चंस it's how we are brought up. It's how, and I wouldn't call it कि वो आपकी ख़ानदानियत है कि आपकी अनख़ानदानियत है. I think it's part of the human nature कि हम we are built that way. When we come on online as public figures, the entire process becomes a bit difficult. In today's day and age, अगर हम देखते हैं तो लोग लिख रहे होते हैं कि जी ऑनलाइन लिख रहे होते हैं कि जी आज मेरा बेटा पैदा हुआ है, मुबारकबाद दे देना. आज मेरी माँ बीमार है, खैर सेहत पे वो कर देना, दुआएं यहाँ मांग लेना. अब तो सारी दुआएं भी ऑनलाइन हो रही हैं. तो कहने का मतलब ये कि where do you draw a line? What is a line where you say that this is right and this is wrong? I personally feel that if you are giving somebody access to the information that is online, you've allowed them to exploit that information and do whatever they want to do with it. Whether they are your personal pictures, your private information, your letters, your emails, anything, because it's nothing that you have solid in your hand. It's everything that's on the click of a computer and everything that's accessible by a password. So yes, you're hacked and you have issues with your accounts, and yes, your friends posted pictures that they were not supposed to post. Yes, we get stalkers who want to stalk us and blah, blah, blah. But we've also allowed that access. So the world has changed. वो ज़माने चले गए जब ख़त लिखे गए और वो ज़माने चले गए and how impersonal are emails in today's day and age. And email is a one-liner. जब आप ख़त लिखते थे उस ज़माने में तो वो पूरा एक ख़त लिखा जाता था और उसमें सारी ज़िंदगी की क्या कहते हैं कहाँ दास्तान सुनाई जाती थी. पता था कि जी 1 महीने के बाद उनका ख़त आएगा तो अब मैं जवाब दूंगी या दूंगा. Right?
Yeah.
In today's day and age, it's all cold and virtual. And it also allows you to be whatever you want to be as a human being, whether you're giving the right information or the wrong information. So it also provides a cover for you as a person, and you can exploit the online in any way that you want to exploit. Human beings are generally very general. They can also be very conniving and intelligent and smart and devious. Okay, and a lot of other emotions that come with humanity of being a human being. The more access we give to people, or the more information that we provide, the more conclusions we get also from the other side and the opinions that people make about us. And that's what online is.
Do you agree with that? Do you think anything you put online is open to everybody? Because I think when we have privacy settings for most things, doesn't that mean that you are drawing a boundary somewhere, or does that mean that it's open?
Well, I think it's a really interesting conversation. I think boundaries are very important. I think when social media, when our life started coming online, we actually initially शुरू में हम सब कुछ post कर देते थे. There were just a few friends, उनको तस्वीरें दिखा दी, ये हो गया, आपने मतलब कम लोग थे, and then it started growing, and then I think you had to realize कि no, we need to draw boundaries like you need to do in your personal life actually. So it's actually like Deepak was saying, it's an extension of your personal life. But I think एक time आया in the last few years where it's become so mass. I mean, in the last 3 years, I think almost every event, every movement, मतलब like you're saying, मतलब you know, people are sitting on the toilet and they're taking selfies and they're posting it. You know, hashtag like Lou, or like, I mean, it's really ridiculous. And like Deepak was saying, hashtag blessed, and you know, it's gotten a bit too much. So there's a lot of issues with that we can discuss. But I'll just tell a little anecdote. When I realized, okay, I need to be a little careful, was that I have obviously an Instagram feed and a Facebook feed, and जब लोग लिख रहे होते हैं तस्वीरों के नीचे तो I'm always looking for the one who's got an interesting point, right? You're always like, okay, I'm going to respond to somebody, so I don't check. So there was one person who I guess was constantly writing, and I was just responding to her, but I didn't know it was one person. So then she started inboxing me.
You mean she had multiple accounts?
She had one account, but I just didn't see who the name was. So whoever's writing, I'd be like, oh, you know, return and write to them. So then I started getting these inboxed emails about what was happening in my day. Or like what happened last week, or you were with your best friend and then you played with your cat and then you ate this pizza and then you went to the beach. And you know, it was really well written, like, so I was like kind of enamored by what this person was writing, but I never responded. But then she started writing to me every day. And I was like, okay, I mean, this person probably knows that I'm saying this right now. I'm pretty sure. I don't think she's here, but she'll find out about this. Because she started messaging my friends now. It's amazing. So then, okay, so, you know, things are happening. I'm getting these emails. I'm like, it's fine. There's a boundary. It's online and offline are different. So I think मंगल की रात थी 9 बजे मैं घर पे था कुछ लिख रहा था. I just ordered some food and I live alone in Karachi. Suddenly the doorbell rings.
That's a very nice horror story.
It was. I'll tell you, because suddenly the bell rings and I go and open the door and there's a guy standing there with a bag and I'm like, Ji, Assalamu alaikum. And he's like, Ji, walaikum salam. He's like, Ye le. I was like, Ye kisse hai? And then he like isharos and I see a girl, a woman in her early 40s or late 30s kind of standing there posing like this. And I'm like, hi. And she's like, hello. And I'm like, do I know you? And she's like, I don't know. Do you know me? I was like, I don't think I know you. She's like, think again. And then so I kind of got to this point where I realized this is the same person who's been writing to me. So I'm like, are you that person? She's like, maybe. She's like, look at the bag. And so the guy hands me this bag. And inside are things that I've enjoyed eating over the last year. So, you know, like coffee, because I love coffee. And then this new kind of Nutella, which I love. So all these things.
That's flattering.
It's flattering, but it's scary. So then she gave it to me and I was like, no, you must take this back. And why are you here? She's like, I don't know why I'm here. I was like, don't you live in the UK? And she's like, yeah. So then there's this awkwardness and this driver is in the middle, like looking at both of us. You know, ye scene kya hai? And then I didn't know what to do, but because I'm a well brought up person, right. I didn't know what to do. So I literally like looked at her, she looked at me, and then I was like, do you want to come in?
Was that a smart move?
So she knows. So then she's like, yeah, sure. And then I was like, oh my God, this is the person who knows every corner of my life. I've let her into my apartment. And then we go sit on the kitchen counter. And she's sitting opposite me. And she's like, so, Adnan Malik. And I'm like, shit, where are all the knives? I better hide them. I swear to God, I thought that maybe she'll go for something. And I was ready to fight her. So I was like sitting here, but I was like, kuch bhi ho sakta hai. So then sorry, just to make this quick. So she sort of started talking to me, and then she got a little upset. She's like, so you weren't flirting with me? I was like, I don't even know who you are. And she's like, no, you were flirting with me by posting more pictures that I liked. So she thought, so there was obviously something wrong. So anyways, I managed to get her out of the house by saying we'll go out for dinner or something. And then I thought I really would, but then my best friend, who she knew about, said, don't you dare. And then I didn't follow up, and then she sent me some emails and stuff. But my point is, and I asked her how she knew my address. And I had a film that I'd submitted to a festival once, and it had a return address, and she somehow found it. So she ended up at my house, and that was the point where I was like, okay, I need to draw some boundaries, and I have to be very sort of self-conscious. I won't hold more.
So बच्ची लंदन से आई और तूने उसे निकाल दिया ऐसे.
मुझे भी बुरा लगा because I was like, sweet.
He's a well-brought-up.
You know, I was like, it's really sweet because it's amazing because someone's made such an effort and it was commendable, and she's a really intelligent person and a beautiful writer. Yeah. So I was like, you know, this could be an interesting person, but
I think that's one of the dangers of the internet, is that it creates this false sense of intimacy. So you think that you know this person, and she probably thought that as much as she knows you, if you're responding, if you have...
But I wasn't responding.
No, you said you responded to some of her comments,
yes,
right?
on Instagram.
So when you respond, she believes that it is creating a link between you and her. You're not seeing it that way, but that's that person's perception.
Like an ongoing chat.
Yes, absolutely. So so then she thought that there is this connection that she has to follow up on. And you probably let her do it a little bit. You gave her little pieces.
Yeah, but not consciously. And I'm saying that's where you have to draw the boundaries, and that's actually where the world becomes complicated, because we have online personas and we act like somebody online, but actually, at least me personally, I like to have my privacy. You know, I like to actually be a little invisible because I come from a documentary filmmaking background. So being a public figure and becoming a so-called celebrity is it's complicated, because even coming here, you know, everyone wants to take pictures. I don't think half of them know who I am, though.
No, I'm not sure that's
no, I really, like, it's kind of interesting. So, anyway.
Adnan, देखो, बच्ची न्यूटेला लाई थी. और वो चाह रही थी कि तुम सुबह रोटी का स्लाइस निकालोगे, वो लगाएगी न्यूटेला उसके ऊपर, और तुमने उसे घर से निकाल दिया. सारी गेम यहाँ ख़त्म हो गई.
So the interesting part is that we had this same discussion in the Beacon House conference in Karachi, where Adnan was a co-panelist with me. We had 2 other panelists. And after this entire 1-hour panel and the spiel about, privacy and respecting public figures like them, not
Creating boundaries.
I mean, you don't have to really intrude and be in your face kind of thing. The minute we got off, and please, I'm not trying to spoil anybody's fan girl or boy moment, please. Every single person accosted Adnan and they wanted a selfie. So much for the privacy ki spiel. So that's the thing. You see, for them, it's very difficult where the boundaries are, because they may be drawing the boundaries. But like that girl didn't recognize those boundaries. No. And she wasn't the only one, I'm sure, that you responded to. You must have responded to interesting comments of many other people. But for her, you were the only person. And she thought that she was the only person who you were responding
But
to.
the fact that he also didn't draw a line and continued to have a conversation is a lead up on how would you look at internet privacy. I mean, you went way far having that conversation with her on an inbox when somebody
No, but I didn't respond
No, he
to her.
didn't. That's
You
what he
said she started messaging you on
But
inbox.
he said on Instagram he responded. So there was one kind of a response which was enough.
A public
So now she writes long emails to my friends. So it's kind of amazing. And there she just got this narrative going. But we should move on from this story.
I would like to ask Faria to jump in on this, and also if you can, since you are very familiar with the cybercrime bill, perhaps you can address whether it addresses privacy at all or not.
So look, we spoke of there's a convergence of online and offline, right? So human nature, like Deepak said, that doesn't change, and that manifests itself online in these spaces. What we consider values or ethical behavior in an offline setting and how that is transposed online. So all of these things are part of the discussion. How much do you open yourselves up to by what you post? But in, for example, Adnan's case, right? This is information that somebody else had about him, and it was within somebody else's reach. So we have the habit of also, we take a picture and we tag people, or we're at an event, you might not be posting to your page, but somebody else has posted. So for a random person to know you were here, or you were at a certain restaurant, or that's where you visit, right? So now you're open to all of these things. So it's not just limited to what you're telling the world about yourself. But again, here I would also draw the line. There's a lot of victim blaming also in terms of, oh, why did you put it up? Of course this is going to happen, because that's a social dynamic, right? That's how people generally behave or respond. And we rarely ever focus on the act of the perpetrator, and we usually start holding the victim responsible. Why did you post this? Why did you say this? Why did you engage? Why did you get into a relationship? All of those things.
Yeah.
So here we have to really draw a distinction between, so what might be harmful behavior, harmless behavior, what is ethical, and then what goes into the area of a crime against a person, an invasion of their privacy, right? So let's say you put up a cover photo and you're at an event, or you put up your profile picture, right? And it's fine, there's a certain context attached to it, but that picture then gets downloaded, saved, your face is cut up and put on, superimposed on somebody else's body. Right? That is what happens, especially where women are concerned. This happens a lot.
Absolutely.
Now, here a lot of people will say, well, why did you put your picture up, right? But it's not about the person putting the picture up. Why should you constantly restrain yourselves? We have this whole concept of chadar and char diwari. Now you want those walls to be erected also on the online space versus actually addressing the aggression, the intrusion. Why should we have to just confine ourselves? No, don't talk to this person. So again, don't talk to strangers. When we talk about children, then there's a certain parameter, supervision. As adults, you want to use it responsibly. So there are certain precautions you should take, right? Don't put personal information. Don't give your addresses out. Don't put, things that can be tracked back to you. But that doesn't mean that you should stop limiting yourself as a person who wants to express themselves, right? So it shouldn't become about the person.
I personally think that if you're online, somebody said something amazing. In fact, it was Shari Rahman who tweeted it the other day, and she said, the most amazing invention of the 20th century is the smartphone. Okay? And in today's day and age, everyone has a smartphone. I personally feel that when you are so, human beings tend to have this nature of being alone, and the internet or the online does provide a certain sanctuary to whatever you want to be and however you want to behave. We generally as human beings are also insecure about a lot of things, the way we look, what our bodies look like, how we want somebody else to perceive ourselves, how we want to be looked at, and how we want to be kind of admired or adored. So these are all human insecurities that are very, very normal. Online, when we look at smartphones in today's day and age, I think even our cooks and our drivers have some kind of a smartphone, so they're also connected to the internet constantly. And everyone pretty much has a profile on Facebook, let's put it that way. Looking at it from that point of view, when you have anything can happen online. Okay, people's pictures and faces can be changed, bodies can be put on somebody else's heads, and you can pretend to be a 20-year-old talking to a 50-year-old, or vice versa, the other way around. This is all part of human nature. The more accessibility that computers will give us, the more technology will make life easier. We will access all of these things. Now, this is where the question of privacy comes. Privacy cannot be defined. It cannot be a click or a comma on a box that you can put up and say that, oh, this is private. What is private? What? Accessibility to pictures only to friends and family? Or accessibility to picture to everybody who you have on your page? So there are many diverse, it's a diverse box to look at when you say that, oh, this should be private. I mean, I've had friends who've had experiences where they've ended up chatting with the women who they think were 24, and when the woman has arrived and she's like 55, and she sent her 20-year-old picture and still continues to do so as a profile image. So what is real and what is fake? And what is a lie and what is the truth? And what is online privacy and what is a privilege? Or is it the fact that everything is allowed just because you guys are putting it up on a smartphone and everybody else has the access to it? When something goes wrong, that's when we complain about online and say, oh my God, this should be private and blah, blah, blah. But when you guys are getting hits on it and Instagram on it and likes on it and people are loving it, it's all good and fine. It's only when some kind of a debacle happens or something actually, when your parents start complaining or the picture is switched or something awful happens, is when you realize, oh my God, I should have been private. So I think being online, nothing is sacred anymore. Nothing.
Yes, so again, I will go back to the opening statement that I made, that we are looking it as a one-way thing. So you are posting something, I am posting something, and somebody else is reacting. What about their values?
There are no values on online.
No, so that's where I disagree. So the same values, why would I, even if I have access to your picture, if my values don't allow me to corrupt your picture or morph it or Photoshop it and misuse it, I won't. So you have put it up there publicly, I still won't misuse it. But somebody else who has those kind of, or rather lacks those kind of values, they will misuse it. They may even dig out some pictures which you hadn't really publicly posted, and they may, get it out from your friend's profile or something. So if anybody has that malicious bent, they will do that online as well. So let's just look at it as a two-way medium. And also, like she said, don't start blaming only the people who are posting. No. It should be the people who are reacting or, responding. It has to be how they view privacy and where they are willing to step back. It has to be about that.
Sorry guys, I don't think of it that way. I think it's the age of technology. I think we are pre-computers, like computer was invented in my time.
Yeah, that's
and it was, it wasn't even there in your time. So our values were different. We were brought up differently. I hate to say this because there are children in this room, but in those days, we did not fornicate at the age of 16 and 17. Now they have access to everything. Life is very different. A 15-year-old knows what we knew at the age of 22 and 23. Times, like the time lapse is very, very different. So on how they access and how they look at the world. For them, things are much different. And I think I'm not going to say conservative, but I think more family valued because we did not have access to all of these things. And nowadays, everything is just on the click of a computer. Ask anyone in this room, does your hand hurt now when you start writing? Try writing a letter to someone. Because we don't write anymore. All we're doing is really clicking and typing and clicking and typing. When was the last time someone wrote a letter to someone? Except some damn cold email. So values have changed because technology has changed. And human beings have just raced faster as far as their brains are concerned.
I understand what you're saying, and it's goes back to how the digitized information has changed so many things across so many
Levels.
Yes, so culturally, politically, personally, everything has changed. But does that mean that we give up the boundaries that we should have as private citizens? Is that something that is a necessity in this day and age?
I guess, look, everybody, it's a matter of personal choice. Everybody is they have a different context. So Deepak and Adnan are public figures, right? And they're impacted differently, or they'll express themselves differently. Other people, not so well known, are going to use it differently, right? And really, I mean, but there's certain things that you don't want to compromise on, right? Where it really harms you in a way, like I mentioned, whether it's the misuse of a picture. And here we need to draw those boundaries. When is it really about misuse, right? And when is somebody overstepping? Now, sometimes even that is in a gray area. So, for example, if you go back to human nature and gossip, etc., like Deepak was mentioning, what part of it, you've made a funny comment or a funny meme about somebody, so you've taken something of their information, something related to them. And then at one point, does it get malicious, right? So sometimes it can just be, in jest, but then sometimes it gets far more serious.
As public figures, we are criticized all the time. I mean, we get all kinds of malicious content. We get stalkers. We have people sending us funny messages. We go through a lot of crap, guys. Honestly
So
speaking.
at what point do you get alarmed is my
On that,
question. Yeah.
yes, you do go through a lot, but I think you get a lot from it as well, because you are looking for how many Instagram followers you have, if you're out there on social media, if you had a fashion event yesterday, whether...
I'm only happy with the fact that now I know everybody's birthdays, okay? And that it's easy to make a guest list and invite people. Those are the only two things that I'm actually
I have
interested
a
in.
number of things to address here. I mean, I agree. I think I was reading an article. What Facebook used to be, it isn't anymore. People don't share as much public information as they used to. But actually, if you notice, the most likes you'll end up getting are the ones where you actually share your personal information.
Yeah.
So people love that. They love to know what you do in the morning, what you had for breakfast, especially if you're a public figure. So it is a thin line. So yes, sorry, there's a number of points. I think what the internet has done is it's made time very hyper, and it's sort of condensed space and time. So जो चीज़ एक महीने में होती थी वो अब मतलब आपके 5 मिनट में भी हो सकती है. Like literally it's changed. Everything is condensed.
Email.
So everything's moving way too quickly. I mean, the way our parents react to the internet is actually how they reacted to life. Right, so everything has that kind of thing in it. They're like, उसने मेरी एक वो तस्वीर like की और मैं उसको एक message लिखना चाह रहा हूँ. Because they have a very different approach to it. With us, because it's moving so quickly, we have to build our ethos around that. I'm just getting to a point. I just want to address a few other things. I think the greatest actually invention of the 20th century might have been the bit. I think it was the 21st century was a smartphone. But because actually, as you had said earlier, पहले क्या होता था कि everything was separate, right? I mean, photography, music, film, the arts, they were all analog or either used by hand or like heavy machinery, and they were all different. And when the bit came in, it basically condensed everything into one medium, which is where the computer.
Yeah.
So basically now the computer, you can, it's the same kind of, it's stored in the same way. Photographs, music, film, art, everything. So it was very revolutionary. I think it's important to have that context. And so my point with that is,
Where are you going?
where am I going? Yeah. Oh, well, I'm talking about space-time, right? So I think it's that whole idea of how we need to, we have to understand what's happening. I think we're far behind. We're always trying to catch up.
Newsfeed, like newsfeed.
Yeah, so that's life is like a newsfeed, exactly. And so you're constantly now online, and you're constantly distracted. You're never present in a place. So actually, privacy is something obviously you want to share with yourself, like time spent with yourself. But how are you spending enough time with yourself also? I think it's an issue that needs to be discussed, because social media use is now, what it's doing is actually creating anxiety in people.
Yes,
so, and you would know about this being a therapist.
Yes, there is a lot of anxiety, because I think I've spoken to all of you about it earlier, that I did the survey with high school girls that when they put their profile picture, when they upload a profile picture, how frequently do they go back to social media to see how many likes or comments it has, and it's every 5 seconds. And so that's a lot of anxiety, because if you're not getting the validation you're seeking from your audience, then it creates that, am I not good enough? Did I not look good enough? So then you start questioning yourself. So it does. And also it creates a disconnect from reality, because then you're more engaged in the virtual world rather than in your real world.
So for some people, that world is the real world. And so there's such it's such a sense of disconnection from who you should be. So I think when you're setting up your own ethic, because I think ultimately, as everyone is saying, it's up to you guys कि आप लोग कहाँ या हम कहाँ set करना चाहते हैं कि हमारी privacy कहाँ है, हम अपने साथ कितना वक्त गुजारना चाहते हैं. I would love to, I take off time sometimes where for like 12 hours I don't check social media. And it's just like a refresh button because you need it as well. So, I mean, you actually need privacy for yourself also. Otherwise, you become an actor. And not you're always projecting.
If you're constantly checking that news feed or the Instagram feed or Snapchat or whatever it is that you check, you are also seeing things that you are missing out on, things that you may have wanted to do or things that you need to be at. So it doesn't create that sense of satisfaction, the sense of contentment. It creates this anxiety that you're not doing enough, that you're not engaged enough, and you need to go out there and engage.
I think it's about validity and importance. I think generally all human beings want validity and a certain kind of importance. And all of a sudden in their mundane lives, and really mundane generally, and their mundane lives...
I love how you condescended there, but okay.
Generally, the internet gives them a bit of importance. And people and strangers like their pictures and appreciate them. I mean, sitting in a room alone in front of a computer or on a smartphone alone or a tablet alone, and somebody likes your picture that you don't know and you puts a smile on your face. I hate to say this. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense at all.
So it's like Andy Warhol said, it's your 15 seconds of fame.
It is your 15.
That, yeah.
It is your chai wala, and it is your what was her name who passed away?
Kandil.
And it is your Kandil Baloch. I mean, come on. If you're sitting in Sargodha or you come from anywhere and suddenly you become an internet sensation overnight and the world knows you and India starts talking about you and America starts talking about you and you're coming on every channel, obviously we are human beings. We crave for that attention. It's just a very natural process.
So it's really interesting. I just want to add, this morning I was at Tony and Guy and I had my hair done. I had a shoot actually. And they were like, "Aapko pata hai chai wala aaya tha idhar." I was like, nahi yaar, waqai. I was like, kaisa hai? Matlab kya scene hai uska, right? Because everyone's interested. And they were like, haan, wo sahi hai, wo V8 mein aaya tha. I was like, really?
V8?
Like a big car.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, he's
Sorry.
like, V8 usko kahan se mili hogi? Then I was like, uska koi manager hai? He's like, haan, uske do manager bhi hain. I was like, okay. And there was like this big frenzy about him. And then I was like, how is he enjoying himself? मतलब उसको मज़ा, and he's like, नहीं वो थोड़ा सा अजीब हुआ था, वो कह रहा था मुझे समझ नहीं आ रही कि हो रहा क्या है, मीडिया वाला मेरे पीछे ही नहीं छोड़ते. मतलब अब उसको नहीं, so that is an invasion of privacy, because at one level it's a way for him to become famous, hopefully make money, but I think he'll be more exploited than make money.
And the thing is, who's helping him through this transition? So he was an unknown chaiwala standing at a khoka with the picture taken and then uploaded, and then he has all these people who are wanting to get to know him. He has
but
no
not
idea.
really, no one really wants to get to know him, right?
Just the shakal.
So ultimately you got to feel pretty hollow. Like you become this person who's this facade that everyone wants to take a picture with, but what about him and who he is, and no one cares. He's just a pretty face. That's ultimately very sad. And I just want to add a point, I've been reading a lot about Japanese culture and the idea that people are becoming more and more isolated. The marriage rate has completely dropped. Divorce rate is very high. There's very little intimacy. And there's a term for men there who actually are asexual. It's called herbivores. And that's a big part of their culture now. And it's basically because they're online all the time. Their lives are on computers. They work out of home. They only get out at night to like walk their dogs. And everything is sort of shipped and brought into their house through the internet. So that kind of isolation is actually what we need to be wary of. I think we need to actually protect ourselves before we start worrying about what others are thinking about us.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what Adnan just shared right now you can see how this whole exchange of information, right, about the chai wala took place, right, where he was talking to somebody. Now we know he comes there to Tony and Guy. We know he has a V8, he has 2 managers, right?
I don't.
No. So what I'm saying is essentially now internet has a multiplier effect where and even here, right? So a lot of people are
Social
streaming
media.
this, etc. Social media, and so a lot more people are found out. Now you have a conversation, it's thrown out there, and a lot of people find out about it. Now the other dimension to this is one, what information you or others are putting out. The other thing that Deepak also mentioned earlier is what if you get hacked? The vulnerabilities of the medium itself, right? Now you might be having a private conversation one-on-one or a DM or just a private window conversation. Your phone gets hacked, your account gets hacked, and that goes out to somebody else. Or a lot of times maliciously what people will do is start posting it out. It happens with public figures or political figures. Now you will be saying something in your own home to certain number of people or friends in a very different manner. The same thing when it goes out to the public, the context of it completely changes, right? And that's then used to blackmail, harass people, or make moral judgments about them, so to speak. Now here the vulnerability, people need to understand technology. Nothing is private. What you put in one way or the other, it will remain accessible to someone or the other. We keep changing our phones. A lot of times we don't take information off, it goes off to mobile walas, whatever. Data can be transferred so easily.
The new guy, the mobile wala. New guy on the scene.
So again,
That also, but I just want to finish this, right? Now, what you also don't realize is that there's a trace, an online trace, a footprint, a digital footprint you're leaving, right? So you think there's a picture in your phone, you uploaded it, it's gone via an internet connection. That piece of content rests now in their servers. If it's on Facebook, it now is also on their servers. So even if your phone is not compromised, right? Tomorrow their servers get hacked and there's a data leak and everything goes public. Your emails go public. All of that also happens. Again, because I do advocate expression of free speech, I feel these things should not hinder us, because we shouldn't just feel this anxiety and fear, if we say this and we express ourselves, then tomorrow if it's held against us, right? So part of it is a social mindset that needs to be changed, but part of it is realizing how vulnerable you are and what you should and should not be doing. And then again, what others should or should not do. Those ethical debates, I don't think discussions we've not really had either.
good.
I personally think that the internet has just provided an easy accessibility to people to do whatever that they want to do. Put up their videos up, singing, dancing, crying, whatever. I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, for people who are nobody, people who have no access to, let's say, mainstream cities like Karachi, Lahore, and Islamabad, and they're living in different other towns. I mean, if you have people like Kandil, people like Chaiwala, people like Angel, people like many others who become internet sensations to the internet. Okay, I'll give you a simple example. My social media guy is sitting right there. Okay, I just finished my fashion week and he turned around and says to me, sir, चाय वाले को बुला लें, पूजा भट्ट आई हुई है, चाय वाले को बुला लें, दोनों को साथ चला देते हैं. I'm looking at his face. सर बहुत आपको पता है बहुत लाइक्स मिलेंगी, बहुत लाइक्स मिलेगी. I'm telling, are you out of your mind कि पूजा भट्ट को चाय वाले के साथ चला दो? सर इंडिया में खबर आ जाएगी, आपको पता नहीं इंडिया में खबर आ जाएगी. So look at people's mentality of how they are looking at internet and how they want to treat social media. At the end of the day, I think it's, like I said, it's all about self-importance. Nobody knows you, you're sitting in front of that computer, okay, and you want to do something different to become famous. And that's what people are doing. It all depends on human nature and how they want to be, how they want to make themselves interested and interesting at the same time, and how they want to project themselves to the world. I agree with you guys that it's a certain form of isolation. You're also isolating yourself, not realizing it, thinking, oh, I've got so many likes and everybody knows me, but at the same time, you're also isolating yourself from people, from normal conversations, from going out with your friends, from this, and pretending that I'm this huge sensation internet star, while inside you really, really know that you're alone at night, sitting on a computer only and nothing else.
Yes.
In your underwear.
So insecurities are there, the need for validation is there, absolutely. And then also we must realize that the malicious, the malicious or rather the vicious, let's not go all the way to the malicious one, the vicious comments, etc. Anonymity gives you that kind of, power or I don't want to use the word bravery, because bravery is a very positive word, and what happens with that? So it's not. So, but you see, because there is that anonymity, they are able to get away with a lot of things which in their real life, they will respect those boundaries. So this has actually, this is where the values, again, I keep going back, I have only one point, in this entire conversation, I've only got this one point, that it depends on the values. So if I don't want to abuse I will not abuse. Despite the various channels, the opportunities, the technology loopholes that are there. So it's how to develop that kind of an ecosystem where people know how to use this medium responsibly, ethically. That I think is not being done. So we've just, been thrown into the deep end when this medium has been provided to us, and we are just not using it
I
responsibly.
think then more so your advice should go to the parents and to the younger generations as to how much accessibility they give their kids.
I
parents,
think as a
but
therapist
users.
that advice is useless.
Yeah.
Nobody listens to advice and everybody has advice
Yeah.
for you, very honestly. How we teach our children is through what we are doing.
Yeah.
And what we are doing is not the ideal thing either. So we can't expect them to be the role models when we are supposed to be the role models. If we are using it, not being aware of it, if we are not creating the environment which gives rise to those values,
Yeah.
then we must look at ourselves and what kind of environment are we raising our children in.
True.
It's not their responsibility, it's ours.
responsibility.
And I think we fall very behind in creating that kind of environment where they understand.
I think it's really important actually because we're at School of Tomorrow and we're talking to a lot of students out there. Media literacy and online media usage के बारे में actually courses होने चाहिए, and you actually should have some kind of people should learn about it before they get on it. I mean, it's something we can't avoid. It shouldn't be something that's recreational. I mean, schools teach you about life and they're supposed to equip you about life. This is a huge part of life now. So I think they should actually at a very young age, maybe at like the age of 8, 9, 10, have actual courses on online behavior, on things to look out for young girls to be a little more
Aware
careful,
of
little different things. So I think that's a very important thing because ultimately, like you said, everyone's going to do what they want, but most kids hide their profiles from their parents. So
Yes.
they're like very like naked in front of their
Or they-
abba,
or they make
but
a
online
fake,
they're
no,
like
no, but or
deviant.
they make a fake profile, or they put them on limited or whatever, so they don't have access. That's also because we do not have a conversation with them about what is appropriate and inappropriate. We just give them a list of a checklist of to-dos. So when you are just going to engage that way and have expectations from them and not expect them to experience the world, which they will in any which way. So I think what you can do is guide and support that experience rather than having a kind of a censorship, which we do.
So this is something we addressed yesterday, right, in the online and offline safety session for children. And parents also need to, I think, catch up with technology, because a lot of times either they'll bar their children from technology because they feel there's too much of a risk and they don't want them indulging or using it. Or they say, we don't know it enough, so we don't know how to protect them. But the thing is, that to do then is to bring yourself up to speed, learn and get with technology to an extent. I know it's not going to be that easy either.
I don't
but
agree with that, guys. Sorry, but
I mean, so don't curtail it necessarily. There is a good side. So the bit that you were saying, right, about people, these identities, there's a flip side to it where think of somebody who does not have great people skills, right? Or somebody who's supposedly nobody the way we keep in terms and becomes a somebody. How? Through using this platform, they're better with their words, which is more manifests online. They become social political commentators. So many of them have good stuff to add to discussions, and that's only happened because this has become a two-way medium. You're not being filtered through some editorial process, which only if you had links, or if you were writing in a certain manner, then you had to prove yourself and get through the system. Now you can just do that yourself, and then you're picked up.
It's
right?
truly democratic,
It is
actually.
actually.
yeah, but guys, I mean, come on, human beings are creatures of curiosity. How do you stop that creature for? I mean, come on, we've learned it in the past कि जितना आप एक इंसान को कोई चीज़ मना करते हैं करने से, he goes and does that thing or does the opposite of what you've asked him not to do.
हाँ तो नहीं करें.
मना नहीं करें,
it's
उनको
only
guide
natural.
करना
Guide
चाहिए.
them, talk to them.
इस्तेमाल करना.
Don't
मना
restrict
करना
them.
चाहिए.
मना करने से
walk
आज
with
तक
them
जिंदगी
through
में कोई
it.
मना नहीं हुआ है. We know this, that they're very, I don't know what percentage that would be of people who actually, when you tell them don't do this, will not do that.
Our
They will
generation-
do it.
our
When you tell them
generation-
not to do it,
No,
they
no.
will do it.
But our generation also, I feel that they are doing a lot of things now rather than when they were young, because when they were young, they did not have that space to do
Yeah,
it. So
that's it.
their adolescence is kind of delayed.
Should we call a 20-year-old and ask them this question from the audience, guys?
Sure.
I mean, maybe we are far away from your generation, but would a 20-year-old would like to answer a question for us? Would somebody, please, come on up?
Go ahead, go ahead. Yeah.
I said, as creatures of change, You've heard this entire discussion that we've had on online privacy. Okay, what do you guys have to say about it? How do you spend your day nowadays? Are you constantly on your phone and constantly wanting those likes, constantly wanting that appreciation, that importance from your peers, from your friends, colleagues at college and stuff like that?
So in today's generation, the most important thing that we must have is socializing. And going online allows us to socialize with other people, whereas most of the people around us are not able to interact with other people while they are face to face with them. So this gives them the confidence to at least begin with something, so that when they actually go out into the world, they are able to interact with other people. So I think it's important for our generation to be online and to accept all these privileges.
तो बेसिकली तुम ये कह रहे हो कि बच्ची ऑनलाइन नहीं पढ़ सकती है, सामने बैठा कर नहीं पढ़ सकती.
सर सबके पास सामने बैठा के टैलेंट नहीं होता.
अच्छा.
All right, so does anybody want to have the last thought about this? Because then we have to go to a question answer
I think
session.
we've done it to death, I think.
Yeah. Okay, so do you believe that a cyber bill passed by the government extensively covers cyber security that we need?
So cybersecurity is different, and I mean, in terms of what the law can do and has done in some parts is criminalize certain kinds of behavior. So whether it's cyber stalking or if it's your pictures are being superimposed over sexual content. But then again, you have to take the legal route to do something about it. On the other hand, there are certain things that you can do yourselves to protect, and it's a combination. It will never be just a law addressing all your needs. That doesn't happen anyway. So some things, some measures you'll have to take yourselves. Like you put, locks on your doors and you put a gate and a wall. That's exactly what you need to do with your privacy settings and exercise discretion. And when there's an abuse, an intrusion, then you turn to the law. And there are some remedies, but again, please know that the law is a very long process and that you need to then be mentally prepared to go that route.
All right, okay, there's another one. Why are the girls always told not to put pictures online? Why don't we educate the wrong people instead of limiting your daughters to stay away from social media?
So this is again the same discussion. That I mean, why should it be limiting for people who want to use it?
Yeah.
And why shouldn't we limit the behavior, rather correct the behavior, and tell them the right values of using that?
But again, that's where I think that media literacy comes in, and I think I think
Yes.
we're not a media literate country.
Because I've come across a lot of girls who've had their boyfriends take their pictures and then they put it on social media, or they use it to blackmail the girl to do whatever they want. And so instead of feeling that they are the victim, they feel like they've committed some crime and they have to justify themselves in what they do.
Right.
So yes.
I want to say something on this. बेटा ज़रा ख्याल रखना, लड़के बहुत हरामी होते हैं. बस मैं यही कहूँगा इस बात पे. आगे चलो.
Okay, so this question is for both of you. Being a public figure, how difficult is it for you to keep your privacy, and how do you manage to do that?
It's tricky. It's funny because I like going, I'm not going to say it actually because now they'll find me. But I like going for runs in parks and I like being outdoors. So it's very difficult. It's getting increasingly more difficult because everyone's like selfie chahiye. And then I'll tell you one thing. A lot of people here, and I promised a lot of people selfies afterwards, is that I think there's a lot of people who ask really nicely and they don't intrude, but there's a lot of people who are very aggressive about it. So I would just say, I know it's important. I know everyone likes to collect selfies. At the end of the day, collect them. Ki aaj mere paas 6 selfies thi celebrities ke saath. Lekin it's important to also you not get too much into their public space. So I think it's important. But I do try to keep a really low profile, and it's getting increasingly more tricky. So I don't.
Well, I come from the pre-selfie era and the post-selfie, I guess, in both eras right now. उस ज़माने में तो it was very very easy because यहाँ तो फिल्म रोल ख़त्म हो जाता था, यहाँ किसी के पास कैमरा बहुत कम लोगों के पास होता था उस ज़माने में. This age is a bit of a nightmare. With smartphones and with phones and this constantly selfie, I find it more of a disease rather than a convenient of a picture being taken, to be honest.
So because it is leading to a lot of exhibitionist behavior, it's leading to a lot of voyeurism, you're constantly looking into other people's lives and you're constantly putting yourself up there as well. This is to all the people on the panel. Do you feel social media has played a part in objectifying women? If yes, don't you think we should talk about it?
Objectifying women is a very, very difficult term. You see, it is used by for women who have taken a conscious adult decision to go in a certain manner in the public space. Yeah, so I mean, generally it is used in the terms of advertising or in the fashion industry that women are being objectified. None of them have been dragged into it against their will. So that objectification is different. The objectification of women comes in a different manner. That's a different package totally.
The Kandil Baloch objectification would be completely different because she did it to herself.
Yes.
And she wanted to go on social media and behave the way she wanted to behave. As far as advertising is concerned and selling products and objectifying women, that's a completely different topic altogether.
But it's like it is in life.
Yeah.
It's not any different, I think. Yeah.
Look, social media is not a person, right? So a person is objectifying another person,
Yes.
right?
It's
So
not
it's
the-
not the
it's not the
medium
platform.
itself. And it used to happen offline, now it's happening online. And about the Kandil Baloch, so people are expressing themselves differently, right? What we might consider as objectification, it could be another person's expression which was denied to them or something. So again, we're seeing a lot of different sides of people now on social media, which because the constructs of a society have also repressed in many ways. So it's coming out in different
Yeah, so this is
forms.
like, taking the moral high ground and sort of being very preachy.
But the
for
chai
people.
wala is an objectifying of men.
Agreed. Agreed.
In a
Yeah.
way. So we objectify both, I
So
guess.
similarly in Kandil Baloch's case, and she's a very tragic story, very, very tragic story, because what she did, I agree, Deepak, that she did it to herself. But probably she had not been told of the consequences it could lead to.
She
the
didn't
tragic
realize
consequences.
those, no.
So similarly, you hit the nail on the head. That chai wala, the way he is being projected right now, it's sort of dehumanizing him. He's not the chai wala that he was. He's not the person that is being there.
I think
Nobody's getting to know the person.
I think when you get so much of publicity and so much of media in such a short span of time, you lose your thought process, you lose
Yeah.
your direction. You're just only concerned about, like aap logon ne kaha कि you're only concerned about, in both cases, Chaiwala and Kandil Baloch's case, you're only concerned about the hits and the likes and the
Yeah.
importance and the phone calls and the Instagram and what
I
would
don't
people.
think the chai wala is concerned about it.
He wouldn't know the
Maybe not
difference.
yet.
Maybe now, maybe
You know-
because maybe he feels like his living now depends on those likes and dislikes, but it wasn't his
Yes, but he
concern.
hasn't thought it through that what it
Yeah.
will mean maybe
He
after
hasn't
2
come
years,
that far,
3 years,
yeah.
once he's lost his looks. What life is he going to go back to?
It's also-
Is that
it's not-
something he's
Wait
not-
till my Golgappe wala comes, then you guys watch.
But it's not like Deepak said, it's not even a disease, it's an addiction. So actually people need to look at it like an addiction. The problem
Yeah.
is that you become addicted to
Addicted
it.
to
And you
that
think that's real life. I mean, I do it sometimes late at night. I'm just like, post something and then I look at it and then I'm like, I'll go to sleep but I'll skip post. 5 minutes baad koi aur aaye. We all do it.
Yeah.
We all actually need
I
to
have
protect
this
ourselves.
really interesting quote picking up on what you said about it being an addiction by this author called Dave Eggers. And he wrote this book, The Circle, and that basically talks about how much social media takes away from his life. And so he says they scientifically determine how much salt and fat they need to keep you eating. You're not hungry, you don't need food, it does nothing for you, but you keep eating these empty calories. This is what you're pushing. Same thing, endless empty calories, but the digital social equivalent. And you can liberate it so it's equally addictive.
Right,
And
right.
it is very addictive.
Addictive, yeah, it is.
And so we have to admit that all of us, to a certain extent, are addicted to it. We check our news feeds, we check the Instagram, we check.
So I just want to add to this again, objectifying, that also sometimes falls in the grey area, subjective. But what it does is, an incident provokes thought and conversation, because then we do have, so the whole chai wala thing triggered, conversations. Is it objectification? Is it not objectification? You saw blogs, you saw people writing about it. Similarly, Kandil Baloch and what happened to her and her online persona and then the tragic incident then brought your attention to a lot of other social issues. Or for example, the entire notion of honor killing or dishonor killing as is called. So, sometimes these incidents become pivotal. Something happens and there's a
Conversation
debate and you see both sides of the issue as well. So I don't think it's more nuanced, it's not black and white necessarily.
Okay, to Adnan, do you think that your privacy ignores the love of the people that they have for you?
This is from London.
Right.
And this is another one, by the way, huh?
From London-
And
from
that's
London-
another one.
from
What
London
sort
with
of
love.
girl do you want, Adnan?
Wow. What sort of girl do I want? Well, that's a long answer.
That's a long list?
No, it's a long answer. I've got it down. But no, I mean, of course not. I mean, it's amazing. There's a lot of love, and I love all of you, and it's amazing to have fans and to get that affirmation. But I do think it's important to give someone their privacy so that they can be who they are.
आई तो तुमको कि लंबी होनी चाहिए, गोरी होनी चाहिए, पैसे वाली होनी चाहिए, बस खत्म कर दिया तुमने।
नहीं, बस दिल अच्छा
न्यूटेला के नए ब्रांड
न्यूटेला के नए फ्लेवर्स लेके आए रोज।
So one question is, it's not a question, it's a statement. Social media has given you the fame that it has brought you where you are. So how do you consider that a bad thing in your life? Because you use it to get where you are, and then you get upset when your privacy is then being
I think social media has definitely given us a place in the global village, which we've not talked about, because that accessibility on the internet has provided us or reachability to the entire world, which is something which is fantastic. Because in a very small period of time, anybody who's famous on social media can be famous all over the world, which is brilliant. But as far as, if personally speaking, you know, I'm a pre-internet, I was a sensation before internet came. So
he keeps repeating that just in case somebody.
I know, in case anyone forgot.
Yeah.
No, wait, one question, one point. Sorry, say that, what was the...
Which one?
The last one?
About the rise that it helped in your rise.
You know, I think it's amazing. Dekho, ultimately, I think the internet is an amazing place. It's an exciting place. It's actually the city of tomorrow. I went to this session yesterday. That is the internet. It has a place in our lives. It gives you access to things that you never had before. It can build relationships. If you ever read the New York Times Modern Love section, 50% of it is basically comes from like internet connections or Tinder or how they met. It's a wonderful place. It's just you have to use it responsibly, and you have to be responsible with yourself, and so you just have to regulate. I'm a huge fan of it, and I'm really happy. I mean, it's given people money, it's given them livelihood, it's given them the loves of their lives, it's given them careers. I mean, it's one of the greatest things that's ever happened to us.
Yeah.
So that leads into this question that somebody sent. Can you live without coming onto social media?
Yeah.
Not me.
No.
Because I work through. You see, here when we are talking about social media, we're actually been focusing on the negatives, and only now Adnan has actually, brought it forward, has tried to balance the conversation. Because there are so many positives of it. The connectivity it offers, the reach it offers, the multiplier effect it has, and the pluralistic conversations which have not been possible offline have actually been generated because of the again the anonymity, also the safety of anonymity, because there are some people who have some very, very valid comments and very potent comments, but which are not light, which would get them into trouble if they had made them otherwise, which have been mainstream because of the social media. So I think, it's a platform, so you cannot call a platform good or bad. The use of that platform is good or bad by good or bad people.
Look, guys,
so good people will use it in a good way, and bad people will use it in a bad way.
I agree. At this age, or not at this age, but the older age, when you're kind of alone and you got just a tablet or a computer in front of you, when you're 80, 85, I think internet might just be a great comfort factor. Look at it from that point of view.
But I also think like when television came, there was rules to television. Like my mother would say you have to sleep before Khabarnama.
Yeah.
So there were rules, it was just slower.
Same.
So you just need to hyper up those rules and actually be a little more efficient about them, because as every new medium comes in, you have that. I mean, when cars were invented, people didn't know that there were cars that used to get run over. When the first train was shot on film, people ducked in the cinema hall.
Yeah.
So, technology has its own rules, you have your own relationship with it, and we just have to keep evolving with it, and that's what this discussion is about.
Okay, so just to wrap up now, do you think a balance is possible between keeping things private and making known what you want known?
So yes, it is possible. So at the end of the day, it's about exercising discretion. It's about understanding the medium as well, right? And how much you post and how much you don't post. And then the risks that come along with it as well. I mean, I don't think anybody anymore will totally give it up. It's a great thing to use as well, like for livelihood, for expression, for anything.
This is how I actually think the balance can happen. So I'll finish it off. I just went to a wedding in Goa, and it was fantastic. And we had a great time, and my cousin told me how my cousin and his wife met and how they fell in love and how they decided this destination wedding at Goa. So subsequently, आप शादी पे होते हैं और gossip होती है सब कुछ, तो this other cousin of mine turned around and says कि झूठ बोल रहा है साला, shaadi.com पे शादी हुई है.
So yes, it is possible to balance it, and we must again remember that there are people, Deepak is at least 2 decades away from me. Right. So there are people of my generation, there are people of this generation who are in a transition. So like yesterday, I don't know if Badr is here in the audience, because we were in the panel together, and there's a word for our generation. We are internet migrants. People over here are internet natives. they will navigate this space better. We are trying to find our feet, and it is need for us to find those balances, etc., and the norms, and sometimes we will go wrong, sometimes we'll learn by faltering.
There may be internet natives in certain ways, but I think, like Adnan said, it's very important for us to educate them about how to use it.
So again, when the generation is there which has totally grown up with internet, they will, I'm hoping, like Adnan said, that within schools, within your families, those norms will already have developed. Right now, like she said, there are many old parents who are wary because they don't understand the medium, so they want to stop. Instead of educating themselves, they want to stop their children from using it. That's the wrong approach.
Adnan,
Adnan Malik 1 on Instagram and Adnan Malik official on Facebook. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
That's very good. Thank you so much to all our panelists. Thank you for being a wonderful audience.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.